It's more about exposing them to the text. Am I right? It's more about...
And I think giving them the language to understand it. So we'll have to be really careful about ESL kids and think what language they need to be able to cope with the rest that we're going to do. So if we're going to have them follow instructions, if we're going to have them construct something, we need to make sure they've got all the language that they can manage.
That's
language of location, language of instruction.
And that's where I could, in those sessions, that one ESL period, which is usually on Monday, just give them that information and do that together. And as well, there's the ESL kids, but then there's also some of your other kids that can benefit from that sort of explicit instruction in small groups.
There's a couple of the immature kids, but also the kids who have difficulty with auditory processing.
Yeah.
I think they need to have a lot, it needs to become, what's the word I'm looking for? It needs to become automatic for them. And they're not.
And lots of scaffolding and lots of stimuli.
And we'll need to make sure that all of our instructions are one instruction at a time, because otherwise we'll miss them.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's really difficult. But if we think about
with difficulty with auditory processing.
If we think about our purpose is really to expose them to the text type, to expose them to procedure, give them lots of experiences in the building of the field, model the text type for them, and go to the joint construction stage. And the joint construction stage could be our cookbook entry. We could do a lot of interactive writing, but we'll stop there. And then we won't take it to the independent construction unless there are some of those children. You've got some kids that would be ready to write.
You've got 5 who might be.
Yeah.
And the rest would need to do it as an
interactive writing. And that's how we can do it.
And there's a couple of those too that I actually wouldn't mind using as a scribe, just to extend them a little bit further. Extension. They need that where they're focusing just on their language and they're not, because they tend to take over a little bit. So let's get them to utilise their strong writing skills, and they can work as a scribe for some of the others.
That's right. It's a good idea.
And then they can move into their own independent construction.
That's right. And that way, so we're differentiating for everybody. We've got our ESL kids, we've got our kids that might have auditory processing difficulties, we've got our children at 6 that are writing already. And then we got our group in the middle that's in between all of that. So we differentiate for almost 4 different groups of kids. If you want to say it that way. Okay. Texts as well. We need to get some nonfiction. Just
we
think about cookbooks, let's talk about cookbooks, and I guess that's where we'll have that.
How to make blueberry muffins is one of their guided readers.
The guided readers. There you go.
That would be really good too. All those things like those Osborne, how to make, the fairy, how to make things with fairies. They can actually do that. Like Maisie and Olivia from the other class and stuff. Outside, Olivia's got her fairy book, and they're all sitting there with their art and craft stuff, and she's giving the instructions. And they're just reading it from the pictures and fold. We could do a few of those things too.
Yeah, as they're building the field.
But then Simon Says.
Simon Says.
Need to think about Simon Says, practicing the language of instruction, of procedures, all those location, direction.
It's those things, exactly. Do you know all your text types have a certain language structure and a certain schematic structure, the linguistic structure, the language, and then the schematic, how it fits, the goal, the equipment, the steps, that sort of stuff. So when we think about the language, we've got
and I think
imperative verbs.
We should keep it to goal too.
Yeah.
Because I think then we can cover a bigger range, whereas their immediate reaction will be, I don't think will be goal. I think they'll think of, what we're going to make. That kind of thing. So if we do goal.
So what you want to talk about the
equipment.
Which one now? Do you want to do the language or that schematic structure?
No, do language first.
Okay, so the language, we've got the imperative words, commands, and we can use that sort of language with the children. Sit down, stand up. Those are imperative verbs.
Stand on top.
Yeah.
Go under.
So then we've got our prepositions of location. And again, those things, I think it's fine to say those things to the children. Talk about that meta language with them.
Oh, no, I think so.
Command, imperative, prepositions of location. Hang on, let's see what else. Because language features. Oh, the generalized participants. So, you don't say, that's how you'd say sit down. Not you sit down, but sit down. So it's generalized. General way. Or sometimes not even mentioned at all.
I think we need to be quite explicit because of their age, one, and two, because of language and the auditory processing. They don't handle subtlety and inference.
Yeah. The other thing they call it linking words to do with time, but I call it sequencing.
Yes.
Do you know, first, second?
Yep.
Those things. And that comes, that's going to be a challenge for the couple of the ESL.
That's interesting too, though, the action verbs.
Yeah.
We'll just need to make sure that whatever experience we're going to go to next, that you can front load those kids in the ESL sessions beforehand about the language they need. Because I think, we assume that they know those kinds of things, but they don't.
I know.
Twist, take,
I know.
hold. Yeah.
I do too. I think that's really important.
Should we revise from the recount things like how, where, when? Should we just revise what they are? Because they're going to think about those things. They're just not going to put them in the same kind of order. Like they're talking about how carefully with a knife quickly, where 6 centimeters from the top into the bottom. Like they're still going to think about those
in terms of the detailed information, because it's got to be detailed in order to make it.
I think it would be worth just going back and recapping those terms that we learnt with the recount.
Yeah.
And talk about there are different features that you'll find some features the same.
Yeah.
In different text types. But they might actually have a different focus or a different meaning. But they can take, they need to take their knowledge they have of them with them into the next one and not think, this is a whole new...
That's right. It's not a whole new thing. We're building on it.
Yeah, we're looking at it's a different structure.
And
basically.
they call that detailed information.
Yeah.
Detailed information. Okay. Yep. Oh, yeah, look. Where?
Yeah.
Into the bowl. In the oven.
When?
After you have folded the napkin.
So they'll still be using all of that stuff that they use from the recounts, but it'll actually be, let's do it.
Yes.
Kind of mode.
Yeah.
I think goal is something that they're very exposed to. They've been more exposed to. They know what that means.
Yeah. And then
you can use aim with it, so they can see the correlation between the two.
Or in grade 1, 2, we can introduce goal. Another word for that is aim.
Yep.
What do you want to do? So that doesn't matter. So we've got our goal. Then materials or requirements, you were calling it equipment, right? That's fine. So
just trying to use language the kids already know,
which is
we can add the other names for them as they're getting older. You can still expose them to it, but I think we need to start with something they already know.
I do too. Well, then we've got the method or the steps. You were calling it steps, right?
Again, yeah.
That's cool. Oops. Steps.
Treasure hunt. You could have. The treasure is the
jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah.
You have the pumpkin at
That's
the end.
Right.
That looks like
I think we should.
Evaluation?
Yeah.
Evaluation.
It could be in depth, but I think to introduce them to the language.
Yeah, we look at our plan.
All the things
we've got about
looking at. All right.
We've got about 6 weeks to do this.
I think a lot of this building the field front loads the unit.
Yeah.
Or runs parallel with it. And then I think their joint construction, their independent constructions can come through the unit of inquiry.
Yes. Yeah, I think so too. All right, let me put this down. So we'll do, we've got the homework, the photos, the video, the classroom board, the text, Simon Says, which is really important. And then another thing we can do for building the field is what you did with the guided reading, making the blueberries.
Yep.
Or making
blueberry muffins. Struck the text with that, but I think we need to make them aware of the different sections that things fall in. I think they need to be on different colours. So if you make the goal on one colour, the equipment and ingredients, because the ingredients will be in that too.
And we'll call it ingredients.
Yes. One of the things that we're focusing on with my student teacher at the moment is she's going to do a class representation. Again, this is using the unit as the vehicle, but how to make milk.
Okay.
And we want to represent things in a flow chart. So we need to go back and revisit the language, the goal, the ingredients, the equipment, the procedure, but we're going to place it on a flow chart instead. So we're going to use the same structure, but we're going to it's going to look different. So we're going to use an information text, read it to the children, but after every couple of steps we're going to ask them to retell it back, because I think they're having difficulty holding all that information in their head for a long time. So we'll do probably 2 steps at a time, then ask them to retell it. I'll scribe. We'll write that text down, and then we're actually going to get them to, in pairs, make the pictures that go with the flowchart.
Okay.
And we would do milk to cream in the classroom at the same time.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. Yeah. We'll make the milkshakes, and then we'll just orally recreate the milkshake procedure.
Okay.
So just to tie it in with all of that, keep using the language and give them as many opportunities as possible to retell it. All things. We're very multimodal.